I have maxed out every platform for the M4 in the Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer beta. And so in this video, I'm going to be showing you what I think is the best setup for each of these 5 platforms. Remember, if you do enjoy this video or find it useful for dominating your own lobbies, then make sure to leave a like on this video because that really does help the channel out. And if you are new here, it would be amazing if you could consider subscribing to the channel because I am really planning on going all out with the new release of all the Call of Duty related content in the multiplayer, the campaign, Warzone, DMZ, maybe even Spec Ops. I'm really excited for this game and that's exactly why I'm doing this video. So let's start things off with that regular standard issue M4. This is a true jack of all trades weapon, and so it makes sense to use those 5 attachment slots to just overall improve that versatility of the weapon. And so starting off in the muzzle attachment slot, we want to improve both the vertical and the horizontal recoil control, and we can do that with the F-Tac Castle compensator. A great complementary barrel to go with this muzzle attachment slot is the 14-inch carbine shroud barrel. This further improves that recoil control and also speeds up the bullet velocity, so it makes hitting enemies that are that little bit further away that little bit easier. You'll notice that these attachments have added a little bit of weight to the weapon, but I definitely think it's an overall net gain to the overall effectiveness of the weapon. In the underbarrel attachment slot, we can use that VX Pineapple vertical grip to both improve our effectiveness in short range and long range because we get hipfire accuracy boosts and we also get recoil control boosts as well. So it really is improving that versatility of this standard M4. You may have noticed in the new Modern Warfare multiplayer beta that you can't cancel your reloads anymore, and so this means that having an extended magazine is even more important than ever. Not only does this probably overall increase your DPS because you don't have to spend as much time reloading, but it also means that you can take on multiple enemies without having to reload, which is something that you're not really going to want to be doing all that much, being as you can't even cancel the reload. And so if someone's going to start creeping up on you, then you might be in a little bit of trouble. And so we're using the 60 round mag for this M4. And for the final attachment to top it all off, I'm using the Lone Wolf holographic sight. This is a nice clean sight, plenty of clarity, and it's good for target acquisition, and it's just great for that full auto beaming, which you're inevitably going to be doing with this weapon. Probably one of the most difficult weapons to use regarding skill gap is the F-Tac Recon. This is the battle rifle version of the M4. It's a semi-auto, very much like a DMR or a FAL perhaps. It doesn't quite have the sniper or damage capabilities of a sniper or a semi-auto sniper, but it's that sort of in-between an assault rifle and obviously like a marksman sniper rifle. Nonetheless though, for this setup, I wanted to fully commit to that potential of the semi-auto sniper setup. And so with these attachments, you will see that I've centered it around a thermal scope, which we'll get to in just a moment. For me, that follow-up shot potential is probably one of the most important factors when it comes to using weapons like this, these designated marksman rifles, or DMRs for short, because even though you might get off that initial shot, it's sometimes not going to always down the enemy, particularly if it's not a headshot. And so we want to recenter on that enemy nice and quickly and take them out and secure that elimination. That is the follow-up shot potential. And so most, if not all of these attachments are focusing on that ability to recenter on the enemy and take them out. So we're going to start off in the barrel attachment slot with the 16.5 inch bull barrel. This is a beast of a barrel which does actually block muzzle attachment access, but we just got to look on the bright side and think, right, we can't have a muzzle attachment slot, but that does free up an attachment slot that we can use somewhere else on the weapon. 2 more attachments that's going to be improving that recoil after each kick of firing the weapon is the VX Pineapple vertical grip, which we mentioned in the underbarrel attachment slot, and also the demo precision stock, obviously in the stock attachment slot, is also going to help with recoil control. For those final 2 attachments, I've gone for the 15 round mag. I'm pretty sure this is the biggest mag available in the beta for the F-Tac Recon. Basically means we don't have to obviously contend with reloading the weapon all that much, obviously because there are no cancel reloads as far as I know. And obviously we've also got this thermal scope. I'm going to try and pronounce it now. It's a 7x thermal option, the Varm Zeal Fernrohr. As not many people are opting for the cold-blooded perk at the moment, it really does make sense to up your target acquisition with this thermal scope. It's a really clean sort of purple heat map sort of signature scope, which I can really get behind. The M16, it has definitely fallen from grace since its superiority days during Call of Duty 4. But I do think there is a certain combination of attachments that you can use for the M16 that really can bring it into contention, so you can have a really good time with it in the beta. The standout attachment that you may have already noticed is that 40mm underbarrel grenade launcher. I actually have a video, I uploaded it yesterday.
Let's go!
If you do want to check that out, showing off the M16 with the underbarrel grenade launcher, the noob tube as many people know it as, using it in search and destroy, and I do have a lot of fun with it. It's really good for area denial, and if that first burst doesn't finish off the enemy, you can always just fire that grenade, and usually the splash damage can actually finish them off if you're quick enough. Aptly named the noob tube. Obviously it is ridiculously easy to use, and obviously, as I mentioned, that splash damage can come in so handy. It's very good for getting multiple kills, especially if you're playing things like domination, where you know enemies are going to be sort of funneling into a certain area. A grenade launcher into the room can really change the tide of battle in your favour. I'm also using two attachments we've already mentioned, the Lone Wolf holographic sight and the Castle Forge Tac compensator. They are a really good little combination for clarity, target acquisition, and also to tighten up that burst recoil. Naturally, we're going for that biggest magazine available, the 45 round mag, and to top it all off, I'm using the Corio Precisio stock, which is further going to be tightening up that burst, so we can make sure that all 3 bullets from that burst are going to be hitting the target. After using all of the different M4 platforms, I have to say one of my personal favourite platforms is the 5.56 Icarus. Converting the M4 into somewhat of a compact LMG, you both have the option to hunker down and really defend a position and really go in guns blazing with a huge magazine and taking on multiple enemies with that massive high rate of fire, damage range, all sorts of things like that. It's very versatile for an LMG, and that is probably why it sort of leans more towards being a compact LMG, so it's almost like a big heavy assault rifle. I absolutely love it. And so as someone with a more tactical and adaptive playstyle, I wanted the 5.56 Icarus to not only dominate enemies at those extended ranges as you're defending certain positions, but you also want to remain competitive in those tight-knit situations down thin corridors where you can really just throw that lead down the corridor and basically no one is going to be coming towards you. And so starting off in that muzzle attachment slot, to keep the enemy guessing by using a suppressor, it's the Echoline GSX suppressor, which is a great thing for recoil smoothness. It's sort of a new stat there, coining at the moment, and I think it's basically just the full auto fire accuracy during that sustained fire. And as I mentioned, in order for the 5.56 Icarus to remain a true menace at those extended ranges, we're using the cold forged barrel to boost that damage range and bullet velocity and things like that. So it's not going to take too many bullets to take out those enemies that are a little bit further away. It's also worth mentioning that this barrel also gives you some hipfire accuracy boost, so it is definitely a versatile barrel in terms of making sure that this LMG is going to be good in, as I mentioned, those tight-knit spaces. Two more attachments that we've already mentioned, the VX Pineapple Vertical Grip. We're using that a lot because it is just a dominating underbarrel attachment slot, giving awesome boosts to recoil control. And the second attachment that we've already used is the Corio Precisio, doing pretty much the exact same thing, improving recoil control. And for that final attachment, I'm using the SZ Optic. This sort of feels a little bit like a scope without any magnification. It's pretty much just a bit of a glorified, nice and clean red dot sight, because it's surprisingly versatile and it's quite easy to stay on target thanks to that clean reticle. And for the final M4 platform, we are using the FSS Hurricane, which is a really interesting SMG variant with a top-loaded magazine, very similar to the P90 from Modern Warfare. I would say this is probably the most common platform of the M4 that you will see amongst other players if you do care to watch the kill cams. It pretty much is, statistically wise, probably the best weapon because it's got really high fire rate. It's got a natural 50 round mag, so that obviously frees up an attachment slot immediately, and the damage range is actually quite competitive even though it's an SMG. Sometimes you'll find if you're using a long range weapon, if someone beats you to that pull of the trigger and they've got this FSS Hurricane, they can beat you, and it is pretty frustrating. It's bordering on being overpowered in my opinion. And so with its natural capability of absolutely just destroying the other team, we want to make this as fast and aggressive as possible, but still bring down that recoil so we can sort of make the most of the fact that it is going to be still competitive at the medium ranges. To achieve this, we're using the FSS X7 barrel. It has an integrated silencer and it does provide healthy boosts to things like bullet velocity, and it provides recoil control as well. Once again, in the underbarrel attachment slot, we're using that VX Pineapple vertical grip because it is pretty much just the best underbarrel attachment. As I mentioned, we want this to be a naturally aggressive sort of build, and so flinch resistance is actually going to be quite an important thing. When you're 1v1ing and trying to out DPS an enemy, flinch resistance can be the difference between life and death in those really fast split-second battles. And so we're using the D15 grip in the grip attachment slot to improve that flinch resistance. In the fourth attachment slot, we just want to improve that recoil that little bit more so we can be a little bit more confident that we're going to be staying on target during that full auto, very high rate fire. And we're going to be doing that with the Demo Fade Pro stock. It's just going to be providing that recoil control, very similar to the other stocks that we have been mentioning throughout this video. And for the final attachment, we're using the Cronin Mini Red Dot, which is actually green. You don't really understand that. But anyway, it's just a nice clean sight, a one-time zoom, basically a cleaner version of the iron sight. And thankfully, thanks to the 50 round mag, which can't be changed, and the integrated suppressor, we do have the option to go for this optic and just make life infinitely easier, really, when we're ADSing. And there you have it, 5 awesome loadouts, one for each of the M4 platforms. If there is a build that you particularly like, then I am aiming to try and get a video for each of these weapons, get some nice gameplay going, perhaps a search and destroy, just like the M16 video yesterday. Do make sure to check that out if you do want to see stuff like that, because they are just fun, laid back games where we're just having a load of fun with myself and my brother Charlie. They're really, really good fun. And so do make sure to subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss those uploads, and as always, do leave a like if you enjoy the video, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and if you want to become a channel member, click that join button down below. Lastly, do let me know down in the comments what you think of the beta. What are you excited for? What do you actually want to see on the channel? I do actually read every single comment. No comment goes unnoticed. Because I only have a little channel, I do actually have the option to read everything. But anyway, I'm sure you're raring to go back onto the Modern Warfare 2 beta, or if you are watching this when the multiplayer releases, perhaps you're still using these setups. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you in the next one.